6 o'clock, everybody ready to start? All right, good evening, everybody. Today is 14 July at 6 o'clock, and we're going to open the meeting. Oh, we have a little delay, or an echo. So as Natalie works on that, if you would all rise with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Why Miss Johnson does that? Oh, she's coming back, so she gets to do a roll call. Here.
Councilmember Glazer,
Here.
Councilmember Bryan, Councilmember Rainville. Here. Councilmember Swenson,
Here.
Fire Chief Miller,
Here.
Natalie Johnson, and Lori Yeager. Sorry.
Yeah,
Can you turn on your mic so we can hear you?
I have it on. Can you not hear me?
Seriously, you're just working. Are you on?
I'm on.
Can't hear
Yes.
you.
We're working through some technical challenges.
Hello? I can hear you, but can you hear me?
I think so. Yeah, we can hear.
Okay, good.
Okay, so first thing, roll call is completed, code of conduct's on the back wall. Next thing we'll do is go discuss the agenda or approve the agenda. Councilmember Bryan, go ahead.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Got a second from Councilmember Rainville. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is approved. We'll go to the public forum. Doesn't appear we have anybody signed up today. Ms. Johnson, I'm assuming nobody signed up.
No, sir.
Okay, so public agenda is complete, and we'll move on to the first one is the approval of the resolution 2025 approving the 3-day temporary liquor license.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Bryan.
Motion to approve the resolution issuing a temporary liquor license from August 15th through the 17th.
Second from Councilmember Rainville. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we'll move on to agenda item number 4 is discuss the fire truck, and we have Chief Miller here to present.
Mayor, council members, thank you for having me here tonight to talk about some options that we had discussed before for the fire truck. Before our last meeting, I presented 4 different options for replacement of the rescue and purchasing of a new fire truck. I met with my staff during the week last week, after the council meeting, prior to this council meeting, to find out from them if there was anything that I was missing, history, if there was missing in how we did things before we were a fire department of our own, what happened when we were partnered up with Ramsey. And so that brought up a lot of discussion items about the vehicles that we currently have and led to my recommendation tonight. And so a little bit of background with that. We created our own fire department in 2021. We split off from Ramsey. Prior to that, if we had an issue with vehicles, if we had a pumper go down or something went down for maintenance, being that we're combined with the city of Ramsey, we had 2 other fire stations and a multitude of fire equipment that we could pull from those those fire stations to assist the city of Nowthen with their fire protection. We don't have that anymore. So we are down to what we currently have in our rolling stock. And the other piece to this is, I spent the better part of my free time this weekend going through the city, looking at different properties, driveways, accesses, things like that, because I wanted to get a really good feel for the city as far as what are our setbacks, what do we need, how are we going to fight a fire at this structure or that structure. And what I've come up with is we would have to fight a structure fire on probably a good 80% of our properties within the city. You'd have to do what's called a rule hitch. A rule hitch means that you park the fire engine or the fire truck, the attack engine, at the fire itself, and you have to run a supply line back down to an access point where we can get tankers and bigger trucks into. Most of our driveways that I'm seeing, the access to them, because of lack of a common ordinance that states that you need to maintain emergency access or have a road width, things like that, are really kind of handicapping us in what we can do. And so putting a large fire truck or a fire engine down at that scene is going to be much more difficult to do. It's going to, we can possibly damage our truck doing that. And so having something that's smaller, more nimble, that still has the same capabilities is really what I'm recommending and what I'm seeing as probably one of the most viable options for fighting fire within the community. Without having to change people's properties, without having to change ordinances, without having to get people to maintain that access. So we'd have to look at a different way of firefighting. And so, again, go back to that supply line issue. We put a fire engine at the fire. We have a supply line that runs down that driveway to an access area where we can actually get big trucks, big water in, and then we have to park another fire truck there to then supply that first engine that's back fighting that fire. And so that presents a challenge to us because we don't have that currently today. And so even though the two other options that I came with before was to replace it with a smaller, lighter rescue, it wouldn't have the equipment on it that we'd need to do the job. So really what we're looking at is we need a smaller truck, but larger than what we currently have, that has the pumping capacity and the capacity to carry the equipment that we need to do that function. And so with that, I researched used equipment. There is not a market for what we're looking for because our community is unique in the fact that we're very rural, we have very large setbacks. There's not a lot of communities across the country that are like us in the fact that we're surrounded by developed cities. The other cities or the other jurisdictions throughout the country that are rural, they're just that, they're rural. They're not very populated. We're talking populations of under 1,000. We're at that 4,500 mark. We've got a larger population. We have a lot of traffic that runs through. So we're unique in our situation. So there's apparatus out there that are being built, but they're being used and they're not being put up for sale. And so that market really isn't there. And even the market that I'm finding, I found one truck that recently sold that's no longer available, and that truck was $389,000 for a 2022. So at that point, we're at that. Do you get a used truck for $389,000 if you can find one, or do you just purchase new? And so, moving forward, my recommendation is to purchase the current vehicle as spec for the $500,000, and that $500,000 would be maximum that we'd have to spend on that truck. We're hoping if we work with the manufacturer, we can be somewhere maybe between $470 and $500, depending on supplies, tariffs, things like that. That's kind of the driving force behind that. And if that's not an acceptable alternative moving forward, the other option is to keep what we have and build a budget to maintain that until a time that we can actually purchase what we actually need to do the job. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Councilmember Glazer, go ahead, please.
Chief, have we Has the city of Nowland ever taken our existing rescue truck to emergency apparatus maintenance, EAM, over?
Actually, Fire Safety, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, council member, actually, Fire Safety USA does the maintenance on our vehicle currently. So we do have a professional mechanic that has evaluated that truck and has done suspension work on that and that engine work.
Have any type of report that shows what the condition of the frame is?
I don't currently have a report on that from them. That work was done prior to me getting here. So I know that that report is out there. Don't have it in hand. Some kind of opinion has been done on it.
Would it be worthwhile to have that inspected again? When was that last done?
It was prior, Mayor and council members, it was done prior to my employment here, so I'm guessing it was sometime in the fall of 2024. I would say that that condition hasn't changed since that report.
We don't know exactly when it was inspected.
I do not.
But you can get access to the report for us?
I can definitely ask the company for it, yes.
Go ahead.
I don't have so much a question, but just to sort of add my 2 cents here. So I did visit the fire station and the chief and the assistant or deputy chief? Assistant chief. And sort of had a long discussion about all this. And I thought it was pretty educational because I don't know anything about firefighting. But just to sort of reiterate the point the chief made, you know, the rescue truck, as I understand it, that we have right now, it really doesn't fit our fire operation. We got it when, like he said, we were combined with the city of Ramsey. And so at that time, it made sense not to get another, you know, pump or tanker, right? And now it doesn't really fit in. And so even if, you know, we could squeeze another 5 years out of it, I think we still have a deficit in the firehouse, right, of fire vehicles.
Correct.
And to add to what he was explaining about this, what did you call it? The rural hitch. So as I understand it, you know, we got these long driveways. You drive one of the fire trucks all the way up to the house, down the driveway. That's the one that's attacking the fire with a couple of hoses.
Right.
Then you run hundreds of feet of hosing back to the road, and it's hooked up to a tanker at the road.
Another fire engine at the road, Councilmember, then the tankers then deliver water to that fire engine.
And so how many, without getting a new vehicle, how many, and including the new truck we're about to get soon here, how many tankers or tanks do we have, or trucks capable of holding water?
Currently, just tankers, Mayor, council members, we will, when we take delivery of the new one, we will have 2 tankers that will hold, between the 2 of them, approximately 4,000 gallons of water. It takes much more than that to obviously put out a fire. The problem with just having 2 tankers and 1 fire engine is we're missing that piece in between. So we'd have to use a truck from mutual aid to fit that piece into the puzzle, which is many, many minutes behind our response because obviously they're coming from other cities, even though we have an auto aid response for them. Prior to us going on our own as a fire department, we automatically had other communities that, like Ramsey, that were coming in, that was part of their strategy. So, and so we don't have that anymore.
And that sort of, you know, I'm already, I guess, a little, I don't know, bothered is the word, but it just sort of feels odd that, you know, we have to, you know, we don't have any city water here. And so if we're attacking a big fire and we have to refill, we got to drive to a different station to refill off of their, you know, either the city water or high flow pump. And in that situation that the chief described, if we only have the 2 trucks, I mean, the mutual aid or the mutual aid is going back to their station, grabbing water for us and bringing it back. And I don't know, I don't like the idea of relying so much on other cities for a firefighting operation. I just, you know, it sort of seems to me, I mean, we're definitely going to need a new pump and tank eventually, right? Sometime in the near future.
Mr. Mayor, council members, we will definitely need a new pumper in the, we haven't solved our water supply issues. My plan for the fire department is incrementally grow, and we have to talk about what that means. Getting the right equipment on scene first. We can deal with the water supply issues at a later date. That'll come in the future. That's something that we can really plan for. We do have the ability to partner up with our neighbors, and they've been nice enough to assist us with that, for getting water from them, things like that. But it's a challenge because right now, even for us to train, we'd have, for us to do training with water, it takes us hours to do that because we can't go up to St. Francis or Ramsey or any of these other, grab 4,000 gallons of water from them because we're going to train on that night. So we have to use the water that we currently have, which is the low flow well, which takes about an hour to fill those tankers. And so we have to be very mindful on how we training or plan that training. Otherwise, we do have access to the lake, obviously, to draft out of the lake for that. But yeah, that is definitely an issue that has to be solved in the future. But from my standpoint, what I'm looking for is we need to solve the immediate problem in front of us, which is the safety issue with the fact of not having that secondary pump, of a rescue that is on its last legs for all intents and purposes. We don't know when that's going to go. It could be 5 years. It could be 2 tonight. I don't know. But we're really trying to plan for so that we don't have to deal with that issue on an emergency basis.
Councilmember Glazer, go ahead, please.
Chief Miller, so I've got a couple questions, so let's take it in bits and pieces. So originally we were talking about a new truck, and then we got off on a tangent talking about water supply. How many gallons would this new truck hold?
Mr. Mayor, council members, it would hold approximately 450 gallons.
How long would that 450 gallons last?
On a fire attack, you're probably the first 5 minutes.
So in 5 minutes, that truck needs to go somewhere to get water. And we still haven't addressed our water issue.
No, that truck doesn't need to move. Once that truck is at the fire, it stays there. We supply that truck then with another truck for water. So if we had that truck would be at the fire. The next pumper in, which is our pumper that we currently have, that would supply. They have 1,000 gallons on that truck. That's 1,000 gallons that supplies. Then our tanker comes in, and they have 2,000 gallons, and then another tanker will come in, and that's another 2,000 gallons. That truck doesn't move.
So our existing tanker and the one that we should have taken delivery of already, do both of those have pumps on them?
Yes, they do. But like I've stated in the past, you can't have a tanker and a pumper at the same time. So if you're pumping water or supplying water to the fire, that tanker needs to leave to go refill. And so when it does that, we don't have any way to supply that pumper that's at the fire itself.
But even still, regardless of how many trucks we have, we still haven't solved our water issue.
No, absolutely, we haven't solved our water issue, Mr. Mayor and council members. Our water issue is we have to carry water to the fire, and so we don't have our own water in the city, so we have to go venture outside of our city, which is it takes much more time to do that because of distance and time, and so water issue is separate than fighting the fire. Okay. We have, by keeping the tanker that we currently have and by adding the tanker that we've already ordered, we have doubled our capacity in how much water we have on hand today. The only way to solve our water issue outside of that is to get a high capacity well that's internal to the city, put in a dry hydrant at Pickerel Lake, which then allows a more central location where we can draft from, or just do what we're doing currently today, which is supply us with water in an emergency. And so, they're two separate issues. Firefighting and the water supply, completely different things.
Us I understand the desire to have another pumper, but wouldn't it be more prudent that the city solve the water issue first?
First of all, Mr. Mayor, council members, again, the water issues are separate.
I understand it, I
Yep.
understand it's a
Yeah,
separate,
it
I
wouldn't be-
understand it's a separate issue, but
Absolutely wouldn't be more prudent, because right now, even if I had a high-capacity well here today, it doesn't help me move the water from up that 1,000-foot driveway that we currently have in the city, and there's a lot of them in this. So I still need a way to move that water up that driveway, and so right now, I'm missing that's the missing link, the missing piece. And to be honest with you, until I sat down with staff and talked about, like, what have we done in the past? How does this work? That was the piece that wasn't even clicking in my head, because again, although I've been in rural firefighting, the communities that I've been in rural firefighting haven't had 1,000-foot driveways. This was a new problem that I am now discovering, and so I am not afraid to admit when I maybe didn't have all the information in front of me, to come back and say, this is the correct information, and this is why I'm changing my recommendation.
understand why I'm asking so many questions tonight.
100%. This is, Mr. Mayor and council members, this is an expense. There's no doubt about it. I don't come up here lightly and ask for equipment and ask the city to spend $500,000 if it wasn't actually needed. This isn't a want by Fire Chief Miller. This is an issue that I'm discovering because, again, I'm new to the community. I'm new to this fire department. I'm new to the history of how we got here. But as I discover problems, I try and come up with solutions for those problems.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if I could maybe jump in and maybe give some good news. I spoke with Ellers today, and the interest rates that they're projecting for the city of Nowthen, because you have really good bond ratings, you're a double A plus, is only 3.25, which is really good. And so we've calculated out what the fire engine will cost an average home that's about $495,000. It'll cost them about $33 a year or $2.75 a month. And so that's what you're debating basically, is that monthly cost of $2.75 or an annual cost of about $33. That's what it will cost the average residential property.
For now.
Councilmember Swenson.
Yeah, I wanted to sort of finish where I was going with my thought on the eventual need for more equipment anyways. And I guess the idea that inflation is going to make this, exceedingly more expensive even in a year or two, to not purchase it now when we do have a legitimate need for it, it just seems a little bit like we're kicking the can down the road and putting a Band-Aid on something. I mean, we're a growing community. We're not going to shrink as a community. We're only going to grow and get more households, and I think we're going to need more equipment. And it sounds like we don't even have enough equipment to handle the number of houses that we have right now. And while I appreciate mutual aid from the other cities surrounding us, it really bothers me to have to rely on mutual aid. The idea that we cannot fight a structure fire alone on a 1,000-foot driveway. It rubs me wrong. We're not a poor community. We have big houses here and prosperous residents, and there's no reason why we can't have minimally acceptable fire department that's capable of fighting a fire in one of our houses. It just seems, especially with Lori's analysis there, with the actual cost to each resident. And I mean, if you consider what this will do to our ISO rating, I understand that insurance rates are always going to go up due to everything, but it will have an effect. And I would guess that it has more than a $33 effect each year for the duration of this bond. And I mean, even if you just look at it from a financial perspective, given, you know, the increase to the tax bill being more than offset by the decreased ISO rating and decreased homeowner insurance rates, and then also when you're considering, we're gonna have to buy this thing anyways, or something similar to it in a couple years, and by then, it could be 50% more expensive. What did you tell me about the new truck that we just bought? Didn't you say if we bought it today, it would be $200,000 or $300,000 more expensive than when?
Mr. Mayor and Council, yes, at prices today from when that vehicle was bought, those prices have increased about $150,000 to $200,000.
It seems to me that even if we bought this thing and just sat on it for 2 years and paid the bonds, the low interest rate would be less than, you know, what inflation is going to do to us. It still financially makes sense. It sort of seems like a no-brainer to get this piece of equipment right now.
Councilmember Glazer's next. Go ahead.
So I would like to address the whole ISO issue. Number one, first and foremost, we have never been shown any hard facts or data of what the impact would be to the average resident on their homeowner's insurance if we got this truck. So because of that, I've reached out to my insurance agent because, you know, I just went through writing of our insurance, and so he's going to help me try and determine what that is. So until then, I would like us to take ISO off the table in regards to this truck, because my understanding is two things that would have a greater impact on ISO would be a water source and additional training, firefighting training for our firefighters. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, council members, I've always stated that the whole piece of this is a piece of water supply has a great effect. A well will have some effect, but not great effect because we don't have a hydranted system. So
The one thing I'd like this council to do is stop talking about the fact that this is going to improve our ISO rating to the point where it's probably going to reduce the average homeowner's insurance by the amount that they're going to have to pay on a monthly basis for this truck, because it's not based on fact or data. One of the things, and you know, I ran on the same thing, and I know the mayor ran on this, is we're going to do things based on fact, based on data, and that data doesn't exist.
Can I respond to that? Sure. Thank you.
So, go ahead.
I mean, it's, you know, you might not have a lot of familiarity with the insurance industry, but the ISO score has a direct relevance to the insurance rates. The different insurers have different formulas, and they don't disclose those, but they all factor in the ISO rating in some way. It's not possible, I don't think, to ask them in advance, like, hey, if we get this truck and theoretically it lowers a point, what's this going to do to, you know, my rate? But it is going to have a positive effect. That is what it's used for. I mean, just because we can't put an exact dollar amount on it doesn't mean that we can't point out accurately that it is going to have a positive effect on the insurance rates.
But you're speaking to the point that it's probably going to offset what it's going to cost them on this truck, and we don't know that.
We don't know that, but it's $33 a year per household. I think it's pretty safe to say, I mean, you can look at data, and it's just averages because different insurers are different, but you can see how much just even 1 point drop in the ISO affects a homeowner's insurance rate, and it's far more than $33 per year. So I feel safe in estimating or making an educated guess that it would offset it. But even if it didn't offset it at all, I mean, that's just like the chief said, it's one factor. It doesn't change the fact that our city still needs this truck. Like, I hate that we're looking at this from strictly a dollars and cents payoff, whatever. I mean, we're a city and we can't even put out structure fires. Someone's house is burning at the end of a 1,000-foot driveway, and we can't address that without St. Francis or Ramsey. There's something wrong with that.
Councilmember Bryan, please.
get concerned when we say, well, I get concerned when I hear that we have to be able to fight our own fires, and we need to spend all the money to get all the equipment to fight our own fires and not depend on mutual aid. That's going to be impossible. Oak Grove had a fire. The house was right next to Highway 7. They had 75 firefighters from at least 15 different companies coming out because they couldn't get water. We're right next to the road. So just because Nowland, just to make the point, just because Nowland has a different firefighter doesn't mean we're still going to be dependent on St. Francis and Oak Grove and Elk River. And they even had tankers, as I recall from listening to the radio, coming from SBM, St. Louis, Spring Lake Park, Blaine, and Mounds View to solve the water issue. So I understand that we can get the firefighter, but to say that this is going to solve our own problem is not, it will not be dependent on mutual aid is not true.
Well, and I'm not saying that this totally eliminates the need for mutual aid. I'm saying it's one step in the right direction. It's at least taking a step in the direction and not just throwing our hands up and say, we're never going to get there. If we don't have water, we got to have mutual aid. I love mutual aid, and I think we're always going to have mutual aid to some extent, but I would like to know that our city is capable of attacking one of those fires on their own if need be. And I know that's not going to happen because we are going to have that mutual aid. But just because we're not totally wiping out mutual aid doesn't mean it's still not a good idea to take a step in that direction.
I'm hearing two different things, Councilmember Swenson, about we have to get to a point where we won't be dependent on mutual aid at all, and now that we're going to need it. We're going to need it.
Yeah, I acknowledge that.
Okay, that's not what I heard when you first started talking about, we have to have this truck because that means we're not going to have mutual aid. We won't need mutual aid. That's how it came across to me.
Okay, well, that's not what came out of my mouth.
All
I
right.
don't think. If it did, it came out garbled. I'm just saying, I don't like the idea that we absolutely rely on mutual aid, that we cannot handle our own fire without mutual aid. I love that we have mutual aid, and we probably always will utilize mutual aid and provide mutual aid to the cities around us. But, just because you have a neighbor with a big fancy mower doesn't mean you don't get your broken lawnmower repaired because he's going to mow your lawn for you. I mean, get the thing fixed, buy a new lawnmower, I like the idea of a prosperous town like ours that's growing and expanding to have the capability to function as a town, as a city.
Oh, Councilmember Reynolds next. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Thanks, Mayor. And we will, unless we were to go down to half-acre lots and we sewer and water the entire city, we will be dependent on. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be prepared as a department to have the equipment needed to fight fires on behalf of our residents. When we moved in 20 years ago, we didn't have anything. My insurance rate after I moved in went up. When we first then came in 2021, when we started, or not 2021, when we started working with Ramsey, I called my insurance company. And we went out and looked at how far the water supplies were. And as we had part of Ramsey, we didn't have anything here, but we had Ramsey that we could depend on. And there was one other city, and I can't remember if it was St. Francis. But our rate went down. You're never, an insurance company, you ask them, if you called them today and said, what's my ISO rating going to go down? They're not going to be able to tell you a percentage. Whatever that percentage it goes down is going to be different than your neighbor, because unless you and your neighbor have the same policy, same company, you're not comparing apples to apples. I believe we should purchase this piece of equipment. We can deal with the well issue. But this is an important piece to have. And I think that we owe the residents, our duty is to protect our residents. And yes, it's $500,000. What Lori Yeager said today is good news, because anything that we bond for this year will also be at that lower rate, which is great. The city and past council has done a good job of keeping us with our AA rating, which is very helpful. We want to be cognizant of that and staying with that so that we can continue with low interest rates. But I think it would be a disservice to our residents if we didn't move ahead on purchasing this vehicle. It will help us in the process. I mean, my driveway is probably 800 or 900 feet long. And once, unless you get up to the house, there's no way to get more than one vehicle down my driveway. So to have the ability to stage the trucks in the order that they're needed so that water can get to the house, I think is important. And if this helps us do that, and it's not the only thing this vehicle is going to do for us. There'll be other things that we use it for, if I'm not incorrect with that, Fire Chief Miller. I believe we should purchase this truck. Thank you.
Councilmember Glazer, go ahead. Can I ask a question, Chief? So use the example of the long driveway. And so just say the engine goes up to the house and that's your primary. Next thing, could you stage one of the tankers out at the road, even if it's 1,000 feet? Can the tanker push 1,000 feet up to the engine? Vehicles you need in line. So maybe you can break this down a little bit, because it sounds like we have 3 pumps right now. Each tanker has a pump. But I need some help filling in the gap there.
Mayor and council members, yes, one of our tankers has a large enough pump to do that, but that pump can't stay at the scene. Part of the train of water that comes in and is bringing water. So having leaving that tanker on scene with 2,000 gallons of water, we may run through that 2,000 gallons of water and have to go get more. And so you'd have to disconnect that truck, then reconnect another truck that has a pump and do this constantly. Every time you disconnect a truck and reconnect a truck, you lose water. And so the worst thing you can do at a fire is interrupt the hose streams. So if we're actively fighting fire, we need that water supply to be constant. And to do that, you have in our case, you'd have a fire engine at the end of the driveway, you'd have the attack pumper at the house, and then you have drop tanks on the ground that the tankers are filling for that supply. And so the missing piece we have right now is that ISO rated pump. And when I say ISO rated pump, it means that it's more than 750 gallons a minute for ISO rating, okay? Just take the ISO rating piece off of it, but we have to have an ISO rated pump because we need to push that much water.
750 gallons per minute?
Per minute. Yep. And so really, ideally, what we want is 1,000 gallons a minute, okay, when it comes to firefighting. One of our hand lines that we take into a fire flows about 200 gallons a minute. And so when you start to do the math on that, it takes quite a bit of pumping capacity, quite a bit of water to do that. I know the fire that you're speaking of in Oak Grove, and that was like, they calculated out to somewhere around 100,000 gallons of water that they flowed at that fire. It takes a village effort to put that kind of fire out. We will never operate without mutual aid, but to Councilmember Swenson's point is that some point that fire is going to go out. Some point we need to release mutual aid. And if we don't have our own fire equipment within that line of attack, we are relying on our mutual aid companies who have come to help us to be that link in our water supply. And that's something that we don't want to do. That's something that I think is a burden. If we asked them to do it today, and they've been more than happy for us, but they understand that we're a fledgling fire department. We're getting up off the ground. And so with that said, that's kind of the link that we're looking for. And the one tank, our old tanker, we currently have, that pump isn't rated. It's only 300 gallons a minute.
It's really just a tanker then at that point.
Right, but it's enough of a pump to fill that truck when we go to a hydrant or a water supply, static, something like that. So it's good enough pump to fill it, not good enough to push water.
Let's run this one more time. If this is the house, you run your engine up here, then back here, 1,000 meters back, 1,000 feet, 1,000 feet, we can have our one new tanker that's just about to be delivered.
Nope, you'd have a fire engine, Mayor.
Well, what's up here?
That's a fire engine, you need two pumps.
We only got one fire engine, right?
Right now we do, yep, so.
One fire engine, so he has to go up there. Fire engine's by the house,
Yeah,
okay?
yep, currently today,
Currently today, as we have it. So you have a tanker 1,000 feet back. The new one can pump all the way to that fire engine right by the house.
correct.
Okay, so that gives you your two pumps that you needed. Your old tanker is, all it's good for basically is to dump water.
Correct.
Okay. We're not in a dire situation because we have the two pumps that you just said.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep,
Trying to set the stage so everybody's tracking on this.
absolutely.
Because it's important for all of us to be synchronized on this. It's a request, it's an ask. Don't have a ton of fire calls in now then, but again,
Absolutely.
setting the stage. So other things we talked about, training is really important, having the right equipment's important, manpower building the department, and then water, as Councilmember Glazer brought up. So all these elements have to come together for us to be this fully functional. So it can't just be one piece. So again, as we plan and we look and say, how do we use planning to our advantage in this? Because it's going to take some time to bring all these pieces together. So if we get you the pump or this rescue truck tomorrow, right now we got missing link of, we don't have all the training, we don't have all the manpower, we don't have all the water. So we have other gaps.
Correct. Absolutely. Mr. Mayor and Council, that is on my plan for 26, to get the physical pieces in place, and we're gonna work on the soft pieces, if you will, the training, the manpower, things like that, and that's moving forward. And I've said it 100 times here, this is incrementally growing this fire department, and so I'm trying to do the best that I can with the resources that we have in place.
Very much tracking that. So just as we talk about this as a council, so the question, do we need a truck at some point? The answer is sure. But when do we purchase the truck? Is really how I'd like to look at it. And when can we line up and say, hey, the training will be complete. We got our high volume well that we talked about, and we got enough manpower for all this to come together. Well, just throw this out there. In 2026, we may be there. 2027, we're probably getting pretty close to being there, something like that. So he's also provided another option to say, you don't have to replace the truck today. You can go with option 2, which is wait until 2028. And one of the things that I wanted to really look at is before we just go out and spend money, what if we looked at saving some money so we can purchase the truck? So, and I do this instead of bonding for this, what if we took and said, hey, maybe next year we can save $40,000. I don't know what the amount is, but just say 40,000. And then in 2026, we could save, or 2027, we save 40,000. And then we purchase that truck in 2028. So we've got some amount of money. We can still go bond for it. Yep, prices are going to go up. I get it. They're always going to continue to go up. But it gives us some time for all these factors to come in so we can utilize them all at the same time. So something like that. All right, anybody else got any comments? Councilman Rainbow, go ahead.
It would be nice if we could had no limits on what we could do, and we could have the well tomorrow, a new vehicle, and 30 new firefighters. But that isn't going to happen. We don't have the money for that, not due to mismanagement or anything like that. We just don't have that kind of money. I see this as a good proactive step in getting us to a point where we can be as self-sufficient as we possibly can as a fire department in a rural area. Again, it's been stated we'll always need mutual aid. But if we can be less of a burden on those other municipalities, that makes me feel good. Delay the purchase of a vehicle till 2028. The condition that has been discussed on the existing vehicle, we could have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in repairs on that. And at what point do you stop fixing the hole in the roof and that hole and that hole and that hole and replace the roof? I mean, we have to think of that. I think we would be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars to do this, and there are dollars too, we all pay taxes. I think this is a good step towards getting us to be more of a self-sufficient department. Again, understanding we'll always have mutual aid. Hard decision, it's a lot of money, but I think it's what's needed. The chief has been working on training. The water source will come on that. But I think this is a good thing for our residents.
Councilmember Sorensen?
Yeah. I agree with you that I would love.
But is it a safety issue? As Chief just said, we can fight the fire. We're going to rely on mutual aid, but we have the pumps to fight the fire right now. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but we can do it. So I don't know, we're saying it's a safety issue, and I'm sorry for interrupting, I shouldn't have interrupted you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, currently we'd have to put our fire engine up at the front. It's a much larger truck, it's heavier, slower. Can I equate that out or extrapolate that out into lives saved, property saved? What I do know from my 37 years of fighting fire is the sooner you get there, by water, the more property, the more lives you're going to save, period. So, so to the point of, is it a safer vehicle to maneuver up these driveways and into these areas? 100%, it's a much safer vehicle than if I were to put that up those paths. And again, we don't have a standard driveway. Some are very wide, some are paved, and some look like goat trails.
That's a very true statement. We do not have a good standardized driveway.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Go ahead, Ms. Yeager.
Thank you. You had mentioned possibly saving some money over the next few years to purchase equipment. And I do have that as in a plan to do just that in the future. But looking at the next few years anyway, you're going to be using fund balance to transfer to other funds, equipment, capital, things like that, and debt service that you need to do to purchase other equipment or pay for capital. And the only way you could save is by increasing the levy specifically to pass that on to the equipment fund. So that's the only way you could do it in the future.
Councilmember Rainville, go ahead.
And if we save 40,000 in 26 and 40,000 in 27, where are we going to be based on the cost increases for that piece of equipment, possibly a higher interest rate? We may be at the same, we may not have progressed at all in having that $80,000 for something that in today's value is 470 to 500. We would have
Definitely a
waited
risk.
to do that with our engine that we're waiting on.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that engine that we ordered that in 2021, and it's just getting delivered today. And so this engine that is now you're thinking of ordering may not be delivered for 2 or 3 years. I have no idea.
Chief, what's the lead time of the engine if we ordered one?
14 to 18, Mayor, council members, 14 to 18 months.
Councilmember Glazer, go ahead.
Who's the manufacturer? Where's the manufacturer that you're sourcing
They're out of Osceola, Wisconsin, Mr. Mayor, council members. Manufactures quite a bit of equipment throughout the area. Mr. Mayor, council members, there's Rosenbauer that's out of Wyoming, a much more expensive product. Closest, otherwise our fire equipment doesn't necessarily build a truck like this because they're concentrating more on LA Fire and Custom Fire does all sorts of different equipment on all sorts of different platforms.
Hold on, Councilmember Bryan, you got anything right now? You've been quiet for a minute.
So, Mr. Mayor, Chief Miller, either way how it would work, as I'm understanding this, tell me if I got this wrong. So if we had this rescue vehicle that had the ISO rated pumper, that theoretically could be the attack vehicle up by the house. Then 1,000 feet back would be the engine, and if we had this vehicle, those two could swap. Rescue or the engine at the house, and then the other one 1,000 feet back acting as a pump. Those are drawing out of a pool for water, a portable tanker, or however you want to call it, theoretically as I understand it. And then you've got your tankers just basically supplying that portable pool that's being then pumped up to the house.
That is correct.
Right now, we would have the engine up by the house. In theory, our new pumper in the middle, pumping water out of, if we didn't have this other rig, we'd then have the new pumper pumping out of the temporary holding water tank. Then we'd have one tanker refill, just if we were just Nelson alone, we'd have one tanker then refilling that.
Mayor, council members, yes. So the pumper you're referring to is a tanker. Pump on it, so it does not necessarily have the capabilities of a pumper. But yes, it can supply the water to that fire engine that's at the front.
Member Glacier, go ahead.
Chief, would you explain to me how our paid on-call firefighters are scheduled? And keep in mind, for residents that are watching this or going to watch this, right now we only have 12 paid on-call firefighters, 13 with the chief. How are they scheduled?
It's an interesting question, but can you tie that into how the?
I plan on it, so if you could just bear with me,
Okay.
I'd like the chief to help me understand. Because we're talking about adding a vehicle, and we only have so many firefighters. And so, there's almost a reliance on mutual aid from that standpoint because of the number of trained firefighters that we have.
You're asking how many people go in each vehicle? Is that what you're looking at?
Well, yeah, and do the firefighters, for instance, on, let's say, a weekend, is everybody scheduled to be on call every weekend?
Mr. Mayor, council members, we don't have scheduled firefighters. We have paid on-call firefighters who respond from home based on their availability. Currently, the system that we're relying on is firefighter, as a call comes in, we can notify each other by cell phone on an app that we use for First Due to get our calls. And so we know exactly how many people are showing up to responding to a call. And that varies based on their schedule, their work, their family life. Currently, we are doing a very, very good job with the personnel responding to calls. We have a dedicated group of individuals who see the importance of this department. They want to build this department. They have a lot of pride in this department, and they are doing a wonderful job at responding. And so our plan is to keep building this department. Again, We are going to incrementally grow this department. We are going to add staffing. That comes with response, and each individual that we have is absolutely dedicated to the city of Nowland. I couldn't ask for a better.
Not question that at all. That has nothing to do with my question. My question pertains to, we're talking about adding a fourth large firefighting vehicle, and how does the amount of staff affect the ability to get all these vehicles out, get them back and forth? For instance, you know, if we have a fire that requires them to go to a high-volume water source and get more water, you know, that's taking somebody off the fire. Does it require more than one person to leave the site to get that water?
So to answer your question, Mr. Mayor, council members, as far as the staffing and the truck, the truck would replace the current truck, and so there's 4 firefighters can fit in the current one, 4 firefighters can fit in the future fire truck. As far as staffing for leaving the scene to get water, it takes generally 1 to 2 firefighters. We can get away with 1 firefighter who's highly trained to go get that water and bring it back to operate that tanker. And so we may put 4 firefighters in that tanker, but 3 of them will be left behind at the scene, help staff the fire scene. And then that 1 driver then would circulate.
Go ahead, Councilmember Swenson. Mr. Yeager, I'd like to go to you next, and maybe if you can pull up the CIP plan or the CEP plan, so we can just look at it on what other fire equipment is planned for the next couple of years. That would be really helpful for me to look at. Councilmember Swenson, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Councilman Glazer's points about concerns about staffing. You know, I don't think I asked those questions last week, whether this would allow only 1 truck to respond to vehicle fires or vehicle crashes, because currently I understand you got the truck responding because it has the equipment, and then you also have the engine with the water. So you need 2 vehicles, but theoretically with this new truck, you could just have that 1 vehicle respond if we didn't have enough people to show up to fill 2 trucks, right?
Mr. Mayor, council members, that is correct.
And so it's not the plan to just use that and deploy 1 truck, right? I mean, will you still deploy both of them, or do you think you will only deploy that one on accidents?
Mr. Mayor, council members, it's really dependent on the call, right? So if we can handle a call with only 4 firefighters and 1 truck, we'll do that. If we can't,
Councilmember Rainville, go ahead.
As the chief mentioned, that the delivery time on this is 14 to 18 months. That gives us a lot of time to to allow the chief to build the department up. He has talked about that numerous times as far as doing recruitment programs. So hopefully by the time this comes in, we could have another 10 firefighters. I mean, and that would help with the ability to keep our staff on site. But as Chief said, they're on call. If it's a hunting weekend, we may be short of people. If it's a holiday weekend, you may be short of people. The larger base you have to draw from, and hopefully we'll have that larger base in 14 to 18 months. That will be a benefit to us. It's not going to make any changes. If we agree to this tonight, residents are not going to see a difference tomorrow. Difference for a while, but it is something that if we move forward with it, they will eventually see the response time.
Ms. Yeager, could you pull up the CEP plan for the fire department and show us other piece of equipment that they're requesting for the next 5 years? Ms. Yeager, you're on mute.
Yep, okay. It does say that I'm sharing it. You can't see it? Can you
It's a
see
black
the?
screen right now. Yeah, it's not being shared, or we're not seeing it.
Oh, so now what do I do? Sorry.
And if we can't get through it and share it, you could probably just talk us through and just say, hey, what's
Okay.
budgeted
So
for
what we-
26, 27, 28?
Okay, so in 2025, with the possibility of buying this rescue truck, the rescue truck is 2005, I believe, and it's supposed to last 20 years, and so it is at the end of its life. The next fire truck to be replaced is the Grass One, and that is a 2008. And I can't describe that for you. Don't know what that is, but we have it's about $125,000. Then there's some portable radios being purchased. The grass truck is 2028 and the radios are 2029. Other than that, it goes out to the SCBA's, the air packs. They should be replaced in 2034. So now you're getting out there. So that's the next big thing is the Grass One truck at 125,000.
Thank you, Ms. Yeager, for sharing that. Can you
Yep.
just give me, Chief, a brief description of the Grass One? What kind of cost are we looking at to replace it? So I'm just trying to put it in perspective on what we're looking at for not only the next couple years, this would be in 2028. So
Absolutely.
we're not kicking the can right to a spot where we got to purchase 2 trucks if we're going to do this. So trying to be as strategic as possible.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I believe that truck at $125,000 is probably at the top end of replacing that in 2028. It really depends on pricing and if there's might be some savings that we can garner from that.
Councilmember Bray.
Mr. Mayor, council members, it's an F-350. It's a 2-person cab, which isn't ideal for us. Again,
What we would be looking at to get, it'd be like getting an F-350 truck, but we'd probably have the crew cab so we can get more people in it.
correct, a 3/4-ton truck.
So we're coming up to the spot, a lot of good discussion on this. We do need to make a vote, but let's talk through the options. Option 1, you said, is to purchase the F-750, approximately $500,000. We wouldn't receive it for 14 to 18 months. Option 2 is basically to not do anything. You maintain your current vehicle and you review it. As Ms. Yeager said, saving money is probably not something that we can do. Is that correct, Ms. Yeager?
That is correct.
Saving
is
money, so my great idea theory is already busted. But I think there's some additional options in there. 1, we could purchase a truck this year, and then if you looked at 2, we could move forward with the same motion next year and purchase the truck, so 2026. I think we got to be super careful if we're bonding, because if in 2028, we said we need to purchase a grass truck also. So the question is do we purchase a truck or do we delay the purchase of the truck? Are there other options? I know one of the things, Chief, I talked about a used option, and there's not a good process for buying used trucks and fixing them. I don't think the city wants to be going down that road of the used route. So I think probably new is the right thing, but what is the right timing? And that's the question that I'm struggling with. $500,000 is a lot of money. And at work, I can justify it. It's an ROI. Here's my payback. There's no payback directly for this. And that's the piece that it makes it much more difficult to make a decision on, because it's timing. But if I don't have all the elements, I can't do it. But we got to get all of them coming together. And so that's my struggle right now.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Rainville.
The issue of bonding, what we've tried to do is bond every other year and include road projects and whatever, because we get a better value for our dollar. There are less administrative costs. So if we do not bond for this in our road this year, we're going to take money out of the bank. And if we do not bond for this piece this year, we're going to have to take money out of the bank next year to purchase it and or bond it. And that bond could be one at a higher interest rate, and then we're paying duplicate administrative fees
For the bond.
for the bond. If
So
we,
it would be 2025 or 2027,
Yep.
that ideally, for a bond.
so if we want to start saving for the grass rig, we can do that. If we're 3 years out on that, we can start saving for the grass rig. And hopefully, with prudent financial management, we won't have to bond for that. It's $125,000 at a max.
Ms. Jaeger said we can't save.
That's correct.
At all.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, right now, the most I can transfer into the equipment fund every year is $10,000. That's what I'm looking at transferring. So, and we don't have, right now, our balance in there is $20,000. And so you
I
do
really
not
like the
And
have,
that's if we do not increase the tax levy.
that's correct. Well,
So
no,
if we,
that's even with an increase, you know, not increasing it for the transfer in, but just having the increase for the bonds. That, you know, I've got $620,000 coming in here for bonds in 2025, if you purchase that equipment. Because there's other equipment that's being purchased with that bond. There's a Toolcat Bobcat, that's 2009, that is being purchased with this money. And then also the Sterling dump truck, the box is also being purchased with bond money. And so those items will still need to be bonded for regardless if you buy this truck or not. Those items would be included in a bond.
so that bond is an expense this year. If we pull this piece out, then we have those administrative costs and an unknown
Yes.
interest rate next year if we move this purchase of this vehicle to 2026.
Yes, and I would not recommend bonding again in 26. It's just the administrative fees are too much for that. So right now, when you're combining your bond issue, you're really saving money by doing it all in the same year rather than having a bond every year.
Ms. Jaeger, just one more note on that is, we delayed the truck replacement of the Sterling, which was supposed to be 2025 or 2026, because we're replacing the box. So we can move that, was it 2 years or 3 years down the road before we bond for that truck?
We don't bond for that truck until 2031. 2031. Is when
Because that's going to
that's-
be a $400,000 expense approximately.
Yes,
And might
it
go up.
is. Yep. And at that same year, there's a John Deere tractor that needs to be replaced, and that's $200,000. So you have quite a few equipment purchases coming up.
A little bit.
Besides in fire, you have public works type equipment that's going to be needing replacement. So, and I'm sorry I can't share it.
Councilmember Ravel.
I am comfortable in moving that we vote to move forward with the purchase of the rescue truck for the fire department at a price of $500,000.
I would second that.
Did you motion it, or did you just?
I'm moving it, yes.
Okay, so you got a motion, we got a second. Any other discussion on it?
Mayor,
Councilmember Bryan?
I'm just trying to go through the budget, because I know this came up last year where at the end, we budgeted for this is very approximate. We budgeted for about $270,000 for the fire department for 2024. Then in the end, we came up with a projected 208. So that was about $60,000 that was theoretically not spent from last year, that theoretically could have stayed with the fire department for other things. And knowing that we budgeted for $315,000 for 2025, this is kind of where I know I mentioned that it would be nice to see where we are when we're talking about this. Is the fire department on track? Are we way ahead? I know there's been some repairs, but what exactly are there?
Ms. Jaeger, answer that question for us?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, can you hear me?
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, members of the,
Can you try and turn things up, volume up on your side? We've
Let's
tried
see
on our
how-
side, and we're not hearing you
Your
very well.
microphone volume.
okay, I'm looking here. Let's see. How's that?
Talk closer to your screen.
Can you hear me now?
Worse now.
Is that better?
No.
Yeah, I'm really having a hard time. This Zooming isn't working very well. I'm missing out on lots of the conversation, and you're obviously not hearing me either. So that's
We
where
got you. You're just a little bit quiet, ma'am.
okay, okay. I'm talking loud, and so I'm looking at the 2024 fund balance. We actually had added $11,000 to fund balance in 2024. And I'm projecting that in 2025, you're going to add about $160,000 to fund balance because you do not have an administrator anymore. And so you're saving a lot of money in 25. But when I look at the 26 budget so far, where I'm looking at that, we're going to be using over $400,000 in fund balance. And so if I take those prior year savings, you're going to be spending that in 26. And the biggest reason for that is back in earlier years, we postponed doing a debt service levy at the full amount. We only did it at a partial amount so that we did not have to levy as much money annually. And now we need to transfer money from the general fund to those debt service funds to make up for those levies that we did not do. And you have the fund balance available. You can do that. So, but to say that you can continue to do that annually is not practical.
Councilmember Bryan, did that answer your question?
No, it didn't.
Is there a specific, can we ask in a different way?
What is the specific for 2025? What is the current year-to-date spent? Just for the fire department?
I don't have that right off the top of my head here. The year-to-date spent, what I can give you what I'm projecting for the fire, as far as what I think they will spend.
According to the budget, correct, Councilmember? Bryan?
Right, it's, hang on here. Their budget in 2025 is 360 or 314,000, and I think they'll spend about 258. So they will be under budget in 25.
What was the total dollar amount under budget?
They will be under budget by, let's see, about $60,000. Not
Mr.
quite.
Mayor?
You go first?
Yeah, could I have Rob address that, just because we have looked at it all the way through May. I'm not all the way done with June yet for all those expenses, and he can kind of tell you where he was.
Councilmember Glazer will follow that.
Well, and it's to what Ms. Johnson is already addressing, because the chief made a face that said we needed follow-up.
Councilmember, sorry for the face. I don't believe that we will be that far underspent right now because of training that we're going to implement and hiring process that we're going to implement. So I think we'll be closer to 90% spent by the time we get done, depending on.
You're going to come in at budget.
I'm going to come in budget, not over, but I'm going to come in at budget.
So it's probably not a surplus if you're going to allocate it for training and doing all the right things.
Correct.
Councilmember Bryan, did that answer your question?
Closer.
Mr. Mayor?
But I don't think I'm gonna get that answered tonight, and that's the challenge with stuff. I guess the other question I had too, sorry Natalie, was, are we literally saying, let's set up an amount to bond, or are we literally saying we have to, I mean, are we saying tonight that we want to look at including a $500,000 in a bond, or are we literally saying we are agreeing to purchase the truck tonight? Because I think those are two different issues.
So
Mr.
the answer
Mayor?
would be that she would set up the bond. So we're not purchasing the truck, but she's going to bond it.
Set up so
Set up
that
the bond.
funds
That would be the
theoretically
intent.
could be there, that we could purchase it at later
Mr.
this
Mayor,
year.
Mr.
Correct.
Mayor, members of the council,
Yes,
can I
yes, ma'am.
interrupt? If we issue debt, we have to purchase that equipment within 3 years. So you have 3 years to
You
purchase
have
that
3 years to
equipment.
buy the truck is what I'm trying to get
To,
at.
to pay for it, yes, to pay for it. So,
Doesn't
yeah,
mean you
you
have to
don't,
go forward and buy the truck right now. Today, it's sometime in the future.
Yeah, I'm hearing questions that we don't have answers for. We don't know the exact on the budget. We don't know exactly, we don't know, there was a question from Councilmember Glazer about the specific condition of the truck now and what theoretically could be done to it. How that ISO should impact taxes. So there's just questions that I'm struggling with because I don't have the answers, and I probably am not going to get the answer tonight.
The ISO question, you may never get the answer on. So just be aware of that. Did you have another statement you wanted to?
I do. And Mr. Mayor, council members, I just would like Lori to, would any of those questions, where we are today or how we end at the end of the year, would that affect anything that we're talking about tonight as far as numbers for 2026? I mean, if you're talking 20,000 or 40,000 under possibly, how much will that make a difference?
yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So the debt service levy for this equipment will be $60,000 annually, basically. And so whether you buy it today or you buy it in 27, if we bond for it now, you have that ability to purchase it over the next 3 years, and it will cost $60,000 a year. But if we bond for it, we have to purchase it within 3 years.
Councilman Rainville.
I guess a question, so we would say, let's say today we determine we're gonna bond for it. Why would we wait 3 years to order it when then that's another 14 to 18 months after that, and we don't know what the cost of the vehicle would be in 3 years?
I don't know that anybody's saying that they would wait. We're just
Okay, well,
saying that was the timeline.
to Ms. Yeager's point, that's an option. I don't believe that's a good option, and there's too many unknowns with it.
If we're going to go forward with the bond, it wouldn't make sense to wait 3 years. Would it make sense to wait 3 months or 6 months? Maybe, don't know, we'd have to discuss that. But it was just the timetable. Okay, so we still got a motion, we got a second. Was there any other follow-up questions before we go to vote? Hearing none. Ms. Yeager, can I get, before we go to vote, what is your recommendation from a financial standpoint? Should we move
Mr.
forward
Mayor.
with this, or? should-
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I would recommend moving forward with this at this point because the interest rates are so good. It's 3.25. I don't believe historically, we've had lower interest rates, but that was such an unusual situation. 3.25 is a very good interest rate, and I've seen them much higher than that. So to me, this is a good opportunity to take advantage of it, and the equipment, you know what the cost is going to be, and you'll have it for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, my preference would be to do nothing this year and do it next year. Well, that's not a good option because we're not bonding next year. So then if
Right.
you put it 2 years out, then you got to wait a full another year to get it. So then you're 3.5 years out. So it really comes down to, are we going to do it tonight or are we not going to do it? So it's going to be a yes or no vote. Any other comments before we go? No perfect solution here on this one. All right. So we already got our second. You want to restate your motion one more time, Ms. Councilman Rainbow?
That the council move forward with setting up a bond to replace this rescue truck.
In the tune of approximately 500,000. Okay, it's already been second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. What's that?
So is this setting up the bond, or is this setting up the bond as well as the purchase?
Have to purchase.
Are we purchasing it this year in 2025, or can we wait 3 months, 4 months as we get closer to the year end to see if there might be some possibilities, or we might get some other information regarding what ISO means?
It's a good clarification.
Or whatever funds might come available?
So can you amend your motion to clarify on that?
My motion is that we
Good with second that?
Yep.
Okay. Does that answer your question, sir? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. All right, motion carries. Councilmember,
Clarify that. Had more information that I would have voted for setting up the bond so we had the money to buy the truck, but not necessarily right at this moment. Have that on record.
so there will be a proposal coming forward when he figures out the truck and gets clarification, he'll bring it forward and say, all right, now we found the truck that we can purchase. So it's basically setting up the fund for it.
Mr. Mayor, isn't it, it's not a matter of finding the truck, it's a matter of putting in the purchase order to have it built.
Councilmember, Mr. Mayor, council members, it's a matter of actually bidding it out to make sure that we have exactly the truck we want and what the price will be. Not a bid out, but spec out, sorry.
Spec out, but the bond has to go through, so this is voting for the bond. When you find it and figure it out, you're gonna come back with us with a total cost
Correct,
and say, this is what I would like to move forward with.
correct.
So I believe he still needs approval on the truck before we put the PO in.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because I think there's potential that we need to do, I just wanted to say, I'm not opposed to doing something. But the fact that, I don't want it to come across that, you know, that no, we're not doing anything for our fire department. I just wanted to be clear that that's not the case. It's just a matter of how we're funding it and when we're doing it.
Point taken, Councilmember, thank you.
Well, you just voted to, you know, apply for the bond and purchase the truck.
Yes. So that does set up some time frame of the next 5 months or something. He will get it spec'd out when we move forward with the purchase. Chief, you got a lot of work to do. You got training and manpower and water yet. You're gonna get your equipment.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next agenda item. We're on number 5. Councilman, or Ms. Johnson, are you leading the job description conversation?
Yeah, I just, Mr. Mayor and council members, I just wanted you to review the job descriptions as we really didn't have them, as far as all the different jobs that the staff does.
We're all in the packet, correct?
They are all in the packet. Everybody should have been able to have review for them. I did break down.
Anything specific on any job description that you wanted feedback on? Because there's like a lot of job descriptions in here as I reviewed them, and a lot of them are similar but only slightly different.
Exactly, and that is why at some point in the future, I would love to be able to change one of the staff to a deputy clerk and one of them to like an administrative 1 or 2, so that we can combine a lot of these jobs like they have to do.
So you're looking at approval for what you presented here, but you would like to in the future in the next year or something like that?
Combine all of the.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
This is confusing and redundant. You got 5 people, write the job descriptions on what they're doing and put it all in there.
It is, and but we don't really know exactly what everybody's gonna do yet for a couple of years, because we've never really been fully staffed.
All right, is there any conversation need to be had on the job descriptions?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to table these things to our next meeting. I was, you know, yeah, maybe I should have checked my email, been busy with work. I was under the impression tonight we were meeting about the fire department only and possibly having a swearing, a badge ceremony for the gentlemen, the staff that were being promoted within the fire department, so I have not had a chance to review any.
Ma'am, would that cause you any issue if we table this?
How long do you wanna table it?
August 12th is our next council meeting.
Does it have to wait that long? Is that something, I'm just we're back here tomorrow night again. Specifically on the budget?
Us. We're going through the budget, Mr. Mayor, and we moved that to Monday with Lori. Yeah, we're not back here until we're back here on the 23rd with the budget with Lori.
Okay, could we table till the 23rd? I don't see this will be a long piece
No,
on
this
these.
should not
But
be.
Councilmember Glazer wants to review them. I respect that. Could we add them to the 23rd's agenda? Does that
Absolutely.
work for you, Councilmember Glazer?
Yes, thank you very
Okay.
much.
So shelf this one, or table it, sorry, is with proper terminology. So that's job descriptions. Next one, Councilmember Swenson, are you leading this one? Okay, is Ms. Yeager, is she gonna listen on?
Yeah. I think the idea was to try to figure out the salary before we get too far along in the budget process. I don't know that we need her input today. I guess I don't know.
Right.
Natalie and Ms. Yeager, I need a recommendation on if she's gonna stay on or not. I don't know what the intent was.
Lori, with the salary difference with me for whatever it might be, is it gonna make a big difference into the budget? Or would you have an opinion that after I step out, you can talk to them or
No,
not?
no, I just need to know. That's all.
Okay.
I need to know.
And Mr. Mayor, don't forget to hit end.
I will hit end on that. So is she, Ms. Yeager staying on?
No, I'll
Okay, she's
take
gonna
off.
sign off. Thank you, ma'am, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's just the council. Chief Leftus? Okay. Councilmember Swenson, you're up.
All right, thank you. So I was doing some research on the salary for the new position we created here, the city clerk as a head of the government, which is,
Can I ask you what page we should be looking at this point?
I mean, page 1, I don't know.
Salary recommendation.
This, okay, this,
Oh, yeah.
thank you. This is the one that was delivered tonight. Okay. That's why I'm like, I don't know what to look at.
Yeah.
I
And
haven't
so-
seen this one yet.
And I didn't mean to spring this on anyone. I was planning on working on this for some future date, but I know that we were striving to get this done for the budget process so we can get the number figured out, and we've already sort of let it sit for a couple months. So I did my best on trying to research this, and I think the challenge is that now then it's sort of a unique city with the characteristics we have and the proximity to the metro area, and so I did my best in trying to find other comparable cities, and I've got sort of two goes at it. Section 3, I got that data from the LMC salary survey.
Which page are you saying when you say section 3?
On the second page.
Okay, salary benchmarking?
Yep. And so salary benchmarking is from the LMC salary survey for 2025, and they send, a survey out to cities and ask what they pay all their staff people. And so I just narrowed it down to the city clerk if they were acting as administrator or the city administrator, and then try to further narrow it down based on population and characteristics. And none of these are perfect and spot on. I mean, nothing is, directly correlatable to us, but I think I've gotten sort of close on these. And, I feel comfortable justifying, my conclusion at the end, which was a salary of $115,000. What I was finding was a range of 105 maybe to 125 for a city clerk as a head of government. A city administrator as a head of government, they get paid more. And so that is lower than that range. 3A is that LMC survey stuff. 3B, this is my prior research. I was trying to just use the internet, I guess, and research these cities. And so I described some of the characteristics of these cities, and I think it explains for itself why I think some of these are pretty comparable to us. And I think the salaries in these cities further support the range I sort of outlined in 3A. So again, I apologize to sort of spring this at the last minute, but I was sort of rushed. And
Just get some clarification.
Sure.
So if you look at 3A, so
Yep.
all the information's coming from League of Minnesota Cities,
Mm-hmm.
and this is if they don't have a city administrator. Is that a correct statement? It's a combined clerk, you got CAO.
yeah, and so I called it the chief administrative officer for the city because it's just the head of government. That can be a city administrator or a city clerk. And so I just called it CAO.
So you're comparing their similar populations, and whatever their top leader is, whether it be clerk or something else.
And some of these examples down further, they do have city administrators, like Columbus, for example.
Now you're talking in 3B at this point.
Correct, yep. And so, yeah, this report, this memo, it's not perfectly laid out. Again, I was a little rushed. And I don't mean to impose my thoughts or will on anyone. I thought I'd take the initiative to do this. You know, in doing this, I looked at some other cities and how they determined salaries for their administrators or clerks, and they do similar type reports, except they have consultants do it. And so, you know, we could go out and spend a couple grand on that.
I don't want to do that.
Neither do I. So that was why I tried to at least make an effort to do my best here. But yeah, so my conclusion, I guess, is I think for the type of position that Natalie's in, a reasonable range would be 105 to 125. In my conclusion at the end, you'll see I explained, I don't think Natalie merits being put at the top of that scale. She doesn't have a college degree, and she doesn't have a long history in the city government and city, government accounting and financing, which is different than private business. But she does have relevant experience, and she is doing a good job. So I also don't think she should be at the bottom of that range. So those are my thoughts. That's my conclusion. Not saying I'm right, but that's what I came up with.
Can I just ask a couple questions? One of the things that was stated was Now Then doesn't have like a public liquor store. They don't have a police department. Some of these other ones in 3B, you've got some comparisons, but
I think Columbus, if you're asking what is the most comparable,
yeah, maybe one or two.
I think Columbus is actually the most comparable. They're also in Anoka County. They're very similar population, very similar spread out. They have volunteer fire department. They use Anoka County Sheriff. They have, the only difference is they have very, very limited water and sewer in a small section of the city. So that's a little different than us. But aside from that one piece, they are, pretty comparable. I guess the other distinctive thing about them is they have Running Aces horse track and casino, which, increases their tax base. Yeah. So,
Can we have one of them, please?
yeah. And you can see they went with the city administrator, and that salary is about 140. Credit River is also a very comparable city. They started out, I think, as a township, and they just became a city, and they are little higher in population than us, little less spread out, but similar level of services. And again, they have a city administrator, and they also have a separate city clerk. But the city administrator's salary is 130. Greenfield is also, they're all fairly comparable. Every one of them has something you could pick out and say, well, that's not like Now Then, but there is no perfect.
Clerk Laser, go ahead.
One of the questions I would have, though, so let's take Credit River as an example. What is the city administrator within the city of Credit River? Do they also have a treasurer, have to employ a contract treasurer like Now Then does? Or does that person budget in-house within the city? I think that pertinent question, some questions that we need to ask is what are
Yeah, and I would say that, it really doesn't matter if they're called city administrator, city clerk. If they're that head of the government, the responsibilities are all pretty much the same. The only, real big differences are if you have some big city with a bunch of services and all of a sudden you're, running a police department or this or that. But as far as, just day-to-day stuff in the city, I think that the scope of their job are all pretty similar.
So my question was very specific, though. Mm-hmm. Do they have to hire, Now Then employs a contract treasurer, really manage the budget, report to the council and report to staff? Does the city administrator, there are a lot of city administrators that have that finance experience, they manage that themselves?
I don't know. I don't know every detail of each one of these cities.
I don't think we have any specifics on specifically on that.
So I think that's a valid question, though, that what are they using to to determine that salary level.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, and I would suspect that that person in Credit River, as a city administrator with that higher salary, probably has a college degree, so they might have some more of that experience. And again, that's why, Natalie's salary would not be up there, but yeah, I mean, they're all different. I don't have every piece of data on these cities. That's a good question, it's a fair question, but, I don't know. There's a lot to look at, a lot to compile.
Just a couple things. So we're looking at this to try to solidify the budget. Well, we haven't even hit budget cycle yet. So we don't, to me, it means we don't have to answer this question tonight. We don't have to vote on this one way or the other. So I think that's the first thing to talk about. Second thing is, what is current wages that we're currently paying?
We're paying her $45 an hour.
So I think that's an important starting point to say, here's where we're at. We know we're the last city administrator, somewhere around 118,000. We know that we chose as a council to say, we don't need a city administrator because we have less in the city of Nowland and we can run with our deputy clerk. And the question is, she's currently getting paid 93 and that was a bump up from where she was at. So what would be a fair salary? And I think what Councilmember Swenson brought together is his overall recommendation between 105 and 125. That's his recommendation. So we can look at it. If we have questions, we can table this one tonight and come back. Now, Natalie probably wants an answer to it, but I don't think we need to as an organization. If we have bench points and benchmarks or data points that we need, we don't have to make a decision. Councilmember Rainbow, go ahead.
Well, we start our budget process on Wednesday, the 23rd. So we should have an idea of what.
That's the next meeting we have is the
That's
20th.
our first meeting on the budget.
Okay.
So I think it's smart of us to talk about it. If we are missing some information, let's try to get that information prior to the 23rd, so we
Or
have
could it be the
that.
first thing we vote on the 23rd, if that's the case?
That could be it, yes. But I think it's, to be respectful to Natalie, she should know what council is thinking, that council wants, that we offer an employment agreement with dollar amounts in there. And we do that on the 23rd, so that when we start with our budget, we have that.
If we can make the decision tonight, great.
So the question would be, Councilmember Glazer asked about whether the other municipalities have either this, so I'm going to paraphrase and maybe add something. Is the city administrator the one doing the actual budget? Or do they contract out? As in, we do contract a portion of ours out, but Natalie on a day-to-day basis deals with the budget, and she's presenting numbers to Lori. Lori isn't just taking them out of the air. Natalie is supplying information to Lori. Or do they have a treasurer, do they have an internal treasurer that is responsible for the overall budget with the administrator? Questions on the issue of. Yep. Pay her an hourly rate, and it varies based on what assistance Natalie needs and what questions council imposes on her, and how many meetings we ask her to be at.
We should have like an average over the last.
And if Dan's got the budget up, he can get the last couple of years.
I think that would be helpful, because I think it ties back to Councilmember Glazer's question of, hey, if they have this, what are we paying? Because there could be a direct deduction from that.
About 25.
I was gonna guess 30, so, okay. So it's not huge, but it's a substantial enough to know, and use the comparison to just exactly what was the name of Center City, is that what you guys called it?
Credit River?
Credit River, I'm sorry, Credit River. Okay, Councilmember Ryan, go ahead.
That wasn't my question. My question was also, do they have a managed muni that they're either on a municipal liquor store and or municipal cannabis dispensary? Because that would also be staff involved in essence managing that store.
I don't think Credit River has either of those things. I think their profile as far as services and stuff to administer is pretty similar to us. I did pull up their website.
Well, Councilmember wanted to pull up their website, I was just gonna say, you might be able to answer that
I
question.
just know that that was part of the discussion that Natalie, as I recall, Natalie brought up that when she was talking at the clerk conference, that whether they or not had a managed muni was part of the discussion.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's an
and-
important piece, because we have less
Yeah.
responsibility in Mountain, we've established that.
And that's why I've tried to pick out the cities with minimal services, because it's, you throw something in there, you're managing another 10 people all of a sudden or more, and that becomes a bigger job. But I did pull up Credit River. It looks like they have a city administrator, and then they also have a city clerk who's responsible for elections, official records. Doesn't say who the treasurer is. Probably. Yeah, and I can't say for certain. I haven't, called these cities or done exhaustive research, so it's possible I have a mistaken year. But again, the goal was to find the most comparable cities, and I think for the most part, the people who had these governments, these cities, I mean, the scope of what they do is pretty similar to what Natalie would do, but spot on.
You could say generally similar and probably get away with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if pretty similar is, but generally they got similar duties. They could have more, they could have less, they may have an outside consultant like we do. All right, is there a recommendation from any one of you three? I know Councilmember Swenson's just brought up, he said the 105 to
125.
125 range. Any other recommendations? Do we have to change our salary? Let me ask that question.
I think, just from researching, if it was 93,000, that seems like a fair wage for a city clerk in a city where there's also a city administrator. That's sort of, the range on that was, maybe 70 to 90.
I think probably similar to what it was before we gave her the raise.
What's that?
Before we give her the raise, because we just gave her a raise for interim duties, she
Yeah.
was probably right in that range.
Well, she was a deputy clerk before that, though. But, so I think that's a fair wage for a city clerk that doesn't head a government. I think it's on the low end for a city where that position does head the government. And then I think a additional factor here is our proximity to the metro, because our wages are naturally higher. It just is what it is. And so some of these outstate cities, which are pretty comparable to us, they're lacking in that regard, because, wages and, 100 miles outside of the cities are a little bit lower than they are here, just cost of living. But yeah, so in my opinion, I think 93 and keeping her at that would be low. The other,
It's too low, given the amount of responsibility you're saying.
Yeah,
Comparing to other cities.
yeah, and the amount of work. I know Natalie's making efforts right now to reduce or minimize the amount of overtime she's working, and I know she would be working more if she could, because there's additional stuff she wants to get to. And once she gets switched over to salary, she no longer has that concern about, racking up a big overtime tab, and I think she will put in the hours, and, I think she deserves to be paid commensurate with that.
Councilmember Rainville, go ahead.
I agree with Councilmember Swenson. Natalie, how many years ago came into this without having any background whatsoever, thought it was going to be a temporary job. And she has, in my opinion, shown herself to be a very smart, capable person, very dependable, very conscientious, and I believe that will continue, because that's just Natalie's nature. She has learned a tremendous amount on how government works. And that's not an easy But she's done a good job. She's brought forward things where we're lacking on, has made recommendations to make changes. And I think it would be smart to offer her an employment agreement. And I would, with Councilmember Swenson's suggestion of 105 to 125, I would go 115. It would be my
Go ahead, Councilmember Glazer.
Mr. Mayor, I think because for me, I think I'm okay with the range. My preference would be to start at the bottom of the range. There's room to grow. There's some of the qualifications that we were looking for as far as formal education isn't there. Years of leadership experience, for instance, Mr. Lehner, I don't know how many, a couple decades of leadership experience coming from the gas company. So, and 115 would put her, you know, just $3,000 under what we would have been paying. So I would advocate, okay with the range, I would start at the 105 point. Grow from there.
Can we hit Councilmember Ryan next?
yeah,
real
sorry.
quick?
I was just going to kind of follow up on Councilmember Glazer, where theoretically, because I know Natalie has finished, as I understand, the first year for the clerk training, but there's still 2 more years going on behind that, or yet to come for that theoretically, that could be used as an incentive, as that the salary could be adjusted once that clerk training is finished in 2 years, and that starting at the lower 105,000 was what I was thinking would be a good starting salary. Yes, smaller. So yes, some outstates, greater Minnesota cities have smaller salaries. Others, greater Minnesota cities have higher salaries. It all comes out of where you're at. I think a good starting point from where we're at, and that would be where I would consider starting out at.
Councilmember Swanson, go ahead.
So I would first like to say, I think Natalie does a great job. So what I'm about to say isn't saying, you know, she's just what we have. But, you know, in looking at the applicants that we had when we had the city administrator posted for, you know, nothing sticks out in my memory as particularly impressive or even, you know, worth interviewing. And so, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, we're just like begrudgingly taking Natalie. I think she legitimately does a good job, and she's very good at what she does. And I think I would like to acknowledge her experience and I guess what she has done for the city over the past 6 months. And also, frankly, you know, sort of taking one for the team and killing the city administrator search. That was sort of a big move on her part, I feel like. Let me ask you guys, would you feel comfortable doing 110?
Just let me, can I, before you ask that question, I'd like to just speak because I haven't got a chance to. So looking at it, your research states that she's underpaid for the service she's providing, given the general consensus. So I think you've got agreement on the pay range, so that's good. I also come in, I'm right there, right smack dab, 105. And I'm not trying to negotiate down. What I'm trying to do is say, all right, it's knowledge, skills, and ability for the pay. Natalie has done a good job. There's no doubt about it. She's a hard worker. But take it all in context here. We don't have a municipal liquor store. We don't have this. So that's why we discontinued the search. So if I stay right there, our last search was what, 125? What did we say we were going to pay?
Upper limit of 140? I don't remember what the low.
Yeah, we had a range. So it's somewhere around 125. It might have been 130. So the whole goal of discontinuing that search and saying, hey, we can manage with what we got is to reduce that piece right there. She's taken responsibility. It's giving, now if we go from 93 to 105, it's a $12,000 increase. It shifts her over to salary. So I think it meets all intents, and I would support that. So I don't want to go to 110 or 115 because we're very quickly back up to where we were at. And this is the whole goal. I believe it's a fair compensation package. And that's right. Okay, that was my point.
Can I make one more pitch
Absolutely.
to the 110?
Absolutely.
All right, thank
Make
you.
your pitch.
So, you know, you guys said Scott his salary was it gonna be 118 for 2025, or was it 118 for 2024?
110 for, it was 50, it came to $53 an hour for 2024, which is 110,000.
Oh, really? All right. And it was
Where'd the
going to
118
be,
number come from?
I don't know. That was 2024, and he was gonna get a raise in 2025. But
from my research, even that salary is extremely low for a city
118, I could have
administrator.
swore that's the number that was given.
Yeah, and so what I'm looking at here, I don't so much want to look at how much of a raise is this for Natalie and use that as a benchmark. I want to say, if Natalie disappeared and we had to go find someone, are we going to hire someone as good as Natalie at 105? I mean, 110 isn't going to make a world of difference. It's not that huge of a jump, but I think it's more attractive, it's more competitive. I think it tells the world we mean business and that we're serious about running an effective city here and keeping our people. So, yeah, I mean, I would come off the 115. I would ask you guys to consider 110, but.
Rayville?
Can I ask, Councilmember Glazer, what did you say that Mr. Lehner's salary was supposed to be in 2024?
well, this goes back to conversations with Mr. Boyles, and he was at, it was $110,000, I believe, for 2020.
And other than cost of living, which all employees receive, Mr. Lehner hadn't received a raise to my knowledge because council never did any performance reviews on him, which were required in order to receive an increase in salary. I don't know, I don't remember what we hired him at and what we ended him at. But if it was, it would be a cost of living, because we never approved, council never approved a salary increase for him.
Yeah, that number came from conversations with Mr. Boyles
Okay.
when we were in the process of putting together the search for the city.
I wish I would know what he started at.
Councilmember Bryan, do you have the
Also-
number by chance? I know he's
Well,
looking.
the challenge is the budget, it's all clumped together, but there was the spreadsheet, that broke it out by employee, but I am confident that Mr. I don't have the spreadsheet right now, but I'm pretty sure that there were salary adjustments that were included on that spreadsheet.
Go ahead.
And Councilmember Bryan could be correct. I just don't ever remember doing the performance review, which was.
We did the performance reviews,
Yes,
I
and
understand that, but-
that's where increases were.
There were salary adjustments made.
Based on, to my recollection, was cost of living. But the other thing I want to talk about is Councilmember Bryan's bringing up the clerk training through the league and the finance group that she goes to, that we include something in the contract that says at completion of second year, third year, fourth year, there would be an increase based on completion of that. Am I correct in that?
That should be, in my opinion, that should at least be factored in. That right now, that's one thing I don't know about these other positions. Has their clerk gone through all the training or not? But I'm just hypothesizing that I know Natalie's been through 1 year, so the course hasn't been officially completed. So I would think that can be something another thing that could be factored into
Your recommendation on that would be to set a dollar amount, or are you saying that training has to be completed for her to maintain her position?
Well, I would think at the conclusion of the benchmarks or milestones of that program, that she would be eligible for an increase.
After the second one or after the third
I
one?
would say, well, she's redone one, we've missed that, so it would be the second and the third. I don't think it's a 4-year program, so.
And I would, I guess, agree with Councilwoman Rainville. Maybe the same concern or slightly different. I would hate to see a situation where she gets pegged at 105 because of the experience she has now, and then all she gets going forward are cost of living adjustments and not recognition for advancing in her abilities.
We have the ability as council to adjust pay ranges as necessary.
Yeah.
So we're setting it for right now, and we have the ability to set or change that.
Well, and I get that, but in reality, a year from now, are we gonna sit down and, hammer out a $5,000, $10,000 raise? It just seems like one of those issues. I mean, this issue took us months to get on the calendar. I don't know, I don't want it to get missed and forgotten and this set her salary forever, And again, I think even as it stands now, I think she merits 110. So I'm not saying 110 based on some future thing. I think she merits 110, but like I said,
You could do a combination of that, just say, hey, if we move it to 110, she completes her training, everything's good, and then we're back on steady state, cost of living raises after that. And you don't throw in any additional incentives, which I don't know how we're gonna control or do, or monitor, and that's what I wanna be careful with, is whatever we implement, we need to be able to monitor it and be done.
make it easy.
So if we just do a salary, I know we can figure that one out. But if we start throwing in other curveballs, I'd be concerned about it.
Start at 105, and then we can, depending on the completion of something, that would be included as part of the review process and salary.
I'm fine with that piece right there, but that means at budget time, we gotta remember that, where there's additional pieces in there.
Can you say that one more time, Dan? Sorry.
Start at, just like anyone else, if there's a certification that's required annually when we do reviews, that can be, has that been done yet? Yes. Okay, great, let's factor that into compensation. Nope, we weren't able to get it done yet. All right, well, let's factor that into compensation.
And I think one thing I've heard from Natalie is that she wants feedback. She wants guidance. She doesn't want to be hanging out here in the wind and wondering how she's doing. And so I think that would fit in with feedback and guidance. Maybe we put something on the calendar for 6 months or a year.
But we have a review coming up for her, correct? Mabel, go ahead.
The employment agreement has a starting salary, and then that there will be a review after 6 months. And the employer agrees to increase the employee's salary to blank after that satisfactory and successful 6 months performance review. So if we start out at 105 and in 6 months, and the date in here has got August 1st, 25, that would not be correct if we're just going.
That's the one piece I was looking at. I think it said August in there.
Yeah.
Because it would be
So
a,
it's been as long on the,
There's no mandate, we don't have to increase her salary after 6 months.
well, then somebody has to make a move to take that out.
so I think there's a couple pieces. One, there's no increase that has to happen or doesn't have to happen. It's whatever the council's discretion is. Now, we have to do a review for her. We have to figure out that process and to make sure that it happens. And then I think the council, if you want to give a raise, then you would talk about a raise at that time. But there's no mandate on it. No, I think the only mandate, it's not even a mandate, but the cost of living is the one that,
Not a mandate, that we determined last year that we didn't do a cost of living release. We put them all together and told Mr. Later, use this entire pot and you decide where it best needs to go. So cost of living is not mandated either.
as a council, we determine that. Anything else that needs to be updated on this, and then we can go through a couple votes, one on the salary and then one on the overall description.
We also have an employment contract in here, and one of the pieces in there, I don't know if you guys are okay with it or
Which
not.
page is that one on?
That was in the packet. I don't know. there's no-
That's a whole nother one right there. That's the one you were looking at, the employment contract starting on page 25. Under salary, it's got this conducted by employee by 1 August. So there should be some type of benchmark 6 months after accepting this position. So say it happens in August. So we'd be looking out to what, February 2026? The first review? Is that how anybody else would calculate it? would be one update. Councilmember Glazer, if you have not read that, that's going to be an important one to read.
So I am reading it right now. So, Mr. Mayor, my preference would be that, you know, while all employees, there's going to be a cost of living adjustment in January of 2026, that any merit increase be tied to not the next 6 months of employment, but going back to successfully completing the. So,
You state that one more time, please.
well, the contract gets away from the conversation we were just having about any type of merit increase being considered after completion of the city clerk training through the League of Minnesota. So the contract obligates us to a meritorious raise on top of cost of living raise, regardless of training. It's just performance. So
You'd like that added in there. Completion of training?
a meritorious increase is going to be tied to a completion of city clerk training.
Councilmember Rainville, go
I
ahead.
guess I want like clarification on that, Councilmember Glazer. So are you saying that there's no merit increase until the other two sessions are completed, which would mean there'd be no merit increase for 2 years?
So within the city, and I think employees got, the raise that they got last year was larger than the cost of living.
It was basically a cost of living raise. But if you were to compare that to inflation, it was slightly higher than inflation.
So, and most, in my experience, working in the corporate world, you know, increases in pay came from increases in responsibility and, you know, a new job description, maybe moving into a supervisory role, management role, which is, and we are giving that increase from the 93,000 to 105, so $12,000 a year. So to me, the next meritorious increase would be tied to completion of the city, not a performance, just strictly a performance review after 6 months in the role.
We just make sure we get the terms merit and cost of living, and I think we're calling them
They're
two separate things.
They are separate
Okay,
things.
so just make sure that, okay, good. Go ahead, Councilmember
So
Rainville.
again, what I'm hearing, and maybe I'm not hearing it correctly, is Councilmember Glazer saying we start her at this salary, and at the completion of 2 years down the road of the LMC classes, that's the next time we look at a merit increase? What if in the meantime, we do a performance review and she's taken over more of the functions that Laura Yeager does? Or there's something different within the city and she's had to take on additional responsibilities?
Can't we address that when that arises?
Right, so can we
Well,
just
that-
strike out this right here? If it just, I'm sorry, Councilmember Rainville, but if we took where it says the employer agrees to increase employee salary to blank after satisfactory and successful 6-month performance evaluation, what if that was just struck out? We're going to do the performance evaluation, and again, we're going to meet as a council to state that, hey, she's doing a good job, we think she deserves this. Oh, she's doing an okay job, we don't want to do anything. That's our decision at that point. I don't need to put anything in a contract to say she's going to get set amount after 6 months. I don't think that's not normal in a contract.
I agree with you. I think tying it to 2 years out to completion of training is too long, and I don't think we necessarily need to set it at 6 months or a year either. I mean, I think we could just sort of wing it and.
We can talk about it and say, hey,
Doing a good
we're
job.
comfortable, we're not comfortable.
Because
What do we want to do?
I guess I do agree with Mary in the sense that I do think 2 years is too long, because even after a year without completing the training, she will have then, you know, a year and a half under her belt heading a city, and she theoretically could go apply for a different job at a different city and get paid more. So that year of on-the-job training is worth something. So I wouldn't want to wait.
But I
2
think
years.
that's where cost of living comes in.
Well,
No,
that's different.
no.
That's different.
We come from the corporate world where those meritorious raises aren't very common.
Well, and that's why I was
And the
saying,
meritorious raise is the $12,000 a year that we're going from 93,000 to 105,000.
but again, I'm not tying it to her prior wage. I'm looking at the state as a whole. What does a city clerk with her level of experience get paid?
We can come back as a group and say, all right, she's completed 1 year. Do we believe that she's eligible for merit? We can have that conversation at that time.
And can I just point one other thing out? My concern that I stated earlier about tying her to 105 and only getting cost of living going forward, the corporate world over here, it sort of sounds like that's the way it's leaning, that meritorious raises are very difficult to give out.
They are difficult.
But I think a year or two of experience heading a city government, I think that deserves a merit raise.
So we're talking about, so when I look at the corporate world, and I'm going to use Lisi Medical as an example. Lisi manufactures widgets and they sell them and they create revenue. The city of Nowthen is reliant on the tax dollars of the residents of the city of Nowthen, and we're asking the residents to pay for all kinds of things right now. And our city, contrary to what you were saying, our city isn't really growing. And so we have a almost stagnant population that we're going to continue to have to ask them for more money. So I don't think we're being unfair in offering a salary of $105,000 a year with a cost of living increase in January, and with the potential for a larger increase when League of Minnesota Cities clerk training is completed in 2 years.
There can be a proposal after 1 year that you bring it to the table and say, hey, she's completed 1 year.
But
I believe she's eligible for merit. We can talk about it at that point.
But I don't want to put a dollar amount in here
Nor neither do I.
that we're going to guarantee in 6 months based on a performance review.
Correct. Actually, I think she struck it out of hers, per my recommendation on that. So I think if you look at salary, I think we can get alignment on 105 right now. I don't know that we're going to get to 110. So we have three things going here. One is the wage. Should we vote on the wage first and then go into the motion and then go into the employer's agreement? Is that how you recommend going to this?
Sure.
Would that work? All right, so if we can take the wages up first. Any other discussion on that, or are we ready to vote? I need a motion from somebody, though.
Mayor,
Councilmember
I'll
Ryan.
make a motion to fix the salary for our, as part of the employment agreement for Natalie Johnson at $105,000 annually.
I will second your motion. Okay, any other discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor, per the motion from Councilmember Bryan for a wage of $105,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have 2 nays. Motion carries. Okay, so 105, we just set the wage. Next one. We need to go through the job description, employer's agreement.
Well, were we going to wait on the job description for her too, with the other job descriptions, Ken, or do you want to hit that right now?
I would appreciate that.
Done.
Should we do the employer agreement, though?
Yes,
Employment?
that needs to be done so we can get it to Councilmember.
So the one big thing in here that I saw maybe could have some disagreement is the severance for termination, 6 months. And at first that struck me as a lot, but then I actually looked, and most city heads, whether it's a clerk or an administrator, they do have some severance, and a lot of them are 6 months, some of them are 3 months. So it's a thing in city government.
I also read that and was a little bit in shock, but I also remember there was a key thing that Mr. Lehner told me. He said, because when councils turn over, they have the ability to cut the administrator if they don't like them. So that's where that severance piece is tied in. I was a little bit shocked when I first read that, but that's the reason why this severance is in there. Now, the question is 3 months and 6 months the right terms? I've never written one of these. I've only read one other one. So if you guys had experience from that, I would love to hear.
Well, I didn't exhaustively look, but I saw at least 2 or 3 other contracts for people like this with 6 months in there, and I saw at least one with 3 months. I didn't see any with none. So again, I don't have direct experience, but from my research, it seems 6 months is not an unreasonable thing to do, at least.
Councilman Bryan, did you?
There was not one in a previous contract had by the city. There's nothing that There's no, as I understand it, I could be wrong, there's no state statute that says we have to have one.
I don't know that there's a state statute, but,
Well, I mean-
like Mr. Lehner had this written in his.
No, he did not.
Oh, he didn't? Okay, maybe that's what he failed to put it in there and he told me about it. Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
So we don't have, as I understand it, I mean, we don't have to include a it's in here or not.
Well, we don't have to pay a fair wage or any of that other
No,
stuff.
it's-
We don't have to provide health
It's the
insurance.
benefit that we're providing.
But I think it's reasonable in light of Lehner's explanation and yours, Mayor. I think it's a fair point. And again, after having looked, it's not, I mean, it's not only not uncommon, I think it is actually common to have.
So, once again, I'm gonna throw myself at the mercy of the council. I did not have a chance to review it. And I was expecting to come to a meeting to address fire truck. So I would appreciate.
Shuffle?
I typically, and I apologize, because I typically come prepared to meetings because I do. So I would appreciate if we could table this again until I think it's the 23rd, when we come to address the budget,
We could probably have an updated one of these at that point.
Yeah.
With a couple things. One, get rid of that August 1st date, put it at February 2026, and strike that line where the employer agrees to pay a certain amount more. I think that needs to be struck. Termination benefits, good point of discussion, gives it a little time for research.
What was the date on the strike August, make it January what?
February,
Or 6 months from sign acceptance.
there you go, 6
Sign.
months, that'd be fine too. I just put
All right.
February, but yes. So if
Yeah,
we
I-
could do that, and then I'm okay with shelving this tonight. The biggest thing was the wage. We had to
Yeah.
work through that. We've got agreement on, well, I don't say we've got a majority. We didn't get agreement. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember, go ahead.
I do want, though, that under that salary, I am not comfortable in any fashion of making her wait 2 years. If that's how we're going to treat our employees, we will have no employees. And so I think it's important that we document in this agreement that we will do yearly reviews. At that yearly review.
Is it in there, correct? That we're doing yearly reviews.
Okay, and let me finish. So it's documented, we do yearly reviews, and that advances in their knowledge of the job or assuming additional responsibilities are included in that review, and that merit increases are. And I'm not interested in waiting 2 years to give her a merit increase. I work for the government. We got merit or union contract raises, now we got cost of living. There was no question.
never
So,
worked for the government.
Okay,
When I was a lot younger and starting out my career, I got merit increases because I didn't have experience. Worked in that,
That's
and
what
I
she's doing.
I was an excellent employee at it, I'll just use the last, from the time I came to Minnesota. And typically our managers, they get a pool of dollars. Typically it's tied to the consumer price index. And those managers and possibly the mayor is in a similar position, in how he allocates, increases annually.
Asked them out today, matter of fact.
Merit increases, to me, the fact that other government agencies do it doesn't mean that we have to do it.
but are we, Councilmember Glazer, then are you telling me are you saying that if an employee works hard, is successful, does well for the city, that isn't to be looked at and they don't get merit increases?
So typically, a job has a pay range that companies, they go out and they do research, not unlike what Councilmember Swenson has done this evening. And typically, those pay ranges, there's a lot of times, the way that they structure them is it's very difficult to get past the midpoint. And so meritorious raises are not, maybe outside of government, are not very common.
That's why nobody works for the same employer for longer than 2 years in the
Yeah.
private
But it's-
sector these
but-
days.
But, you can't just keep increasing salaries and increasing
And
salaries
it's not,
outside.
and Councilmember Glazer, we're not obligated to, but we should at least address it in a contract that gives something for the employee to look forward to. If you give me in a contract that says, in 2 years, we'll talk to you, why would I sign it?
So we just.
I think we can solve this whole thing very quickly. So we can review every year, and if the duties and responsibilities of the individual are outside of the pay range, we have the ability to adjust it. If the duties and responsibilities are in the pay range, we can vote on it and say, do we give something additional? We'll vote on it as a group. We don't need it in anything. All we need is an RCA to say, hey, we should evaluate Natalie's wage. And if she's in there, great.
Well, I think it should be clear as to what we're looking for and if we choose to do a merit increase. I think that needs to be clear, because Natalie needs clear direction on that. So I'm not going to belabor it, but
Well,
that's.
we're not even voting on anything.
No, we're not. But just think about that. As an employee, how do we want to be seen as treating our employees?
We treat our employees very well.
Okay, and that's good, and that's important to do, so that we don't lose them. So we've talked about that. So the other thing is under termination of benefits on 26, the last bullet point, is if the employee voluntarily resigns his or her position, that they give the employer 2 weeks, 14 days advance notice. I would like to see that a longer period.
What are the 30 days on that?
And have it be working days, because if this employee walks out after 14 days, there's going to be a lot of stuff that, we need them there longer than that. Now, if it's a hostile, and I shouldn't have used that word, I'm sorry, but if it's, if the employee has to leave town, their family moves, the other half of the relationship gets a job and they're moving, you talk about that. But I just think 14 days, because that includes Saturdays and Sundays, so you get 2 weeks. I think we should look at that being a longer.
Make it 30
day.
calendar days. I would be fine with that.
And typically for somebody who's the clerk treasurer or administrator, whatever the title happens to be, it is 30 days. Scott Laner's was 30 days.
And-
But we didn't get 30 days of work out of him. But
That's your opinion.
and I'm entitled to
He
it.
chose to use PTO as part of his 30 days,
Yeah.
and we were okay with that.
Times that he used it, yes.
So,
So I just think we need to look at it in addressing a longer period of time there. That's my only, that was what.
Recommendation, we can rewrite that and debate that on the next time we come. Anything else for tonight? Councilmember Bryan?
You're up, Dan.
motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Second, meeting adjourned. Microphones off.